Hello and welcome to the Creaky Kudos. Yes, we're in Age of Mythology Retold. Today we are doing a guide video for the Atlanteans. Today's video is about Oranos. He is an interesting god. He has a few unique abilities, so we're going to go over exactly how I would use them, what works, what doesn't work, those kind of things. And of course, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, his passive abilities center around the sky passages in which you can instantly transport troops. Now, I will show you that later in the video. His units also have extra line of sight. +4 is nothing to be sniffed at. And the oracles generate an extra 25% favor at full line of sight. In other words, you're going to need them to be stationary. Interesting as well, if you actually hit an enemy unit, you get to see where they are for 25 seconds. I think that's kind of decent. Ultimately, his focus is vision and mobility. If you use the sky passages, it does work pretty good. However, there is a build you can go down, which means you're not actually going to get much use out of them at all. Now, the first ability we get is Shockwave, and you basically shoot a bolt at enemy units that are coming towards you. You can use it as kind of a defense strategy, possibly. I don't think this necessarily does any damage, but it does disorientate the people that are attacking you, or, you know, whatever you're trying to do. It stops them doing what they're trying to do for a few seconds. It is one of those things that is just, it's a bit meh, to be fair. The sky passage, again, we're going to show you later in the video exactly how we use this. You have a limited number of them that you can actually use, though. So you're probably not going to be able to have one in every city, but what it does mean is that you do have a mobile army that you can instantly teleport, which can be, if used correctly, very, very strong. We also get the ability to buff up our infantry speed so we can make them a lot faster as well. Another thing which is quite good is having your units be faster on that battlefield, but this isn't one that I tend to use too much. Now, the first god we're able to choose is Prometheus. Now, he is very good. The reason he's so good is the very first ability you unlock, which is Valor. In other words, you can instantly heal a damaged unit, also turn it into a hero. Yes, as the Atlanteans, you are going to have a hell of a lot of heroes, and for minimal faith, you can turn a lot of your gatherers into heroes or fighting units. You also have a very interesting myth unit where if he gets damaged, if he dies, he splits again into 2. And of course, with Theft of Fire, you get to seriously buff up your gatherers. If you pick Oceanus, you have the ability to summon a plant. It doesn't really do too much damage, unfortunately, to infantry units. You also get this unit, which is a flying unit that heals other damaged units. You get Servant, which is very good if you're in the ocean, as it does a great job at healing ships. You also get the ability to have a few extra buffs too. If you go down the Hyperion route, you do have a few options here. Now, Chaos is the first power you get access to. You can turn an enemy unit against another enemy unit. Again, this is something that I will show you later in the video. You get a ranged myth unit as well, which isn't too bad, especially if you manage to get that Wonder up, which of course doubles the attack and the health. Now, as the Atlanteans, we do get the ability to have lots of heroes, so Heroic Revival is really good. We can also buff up our oracles with Son of the Sun. And we have the ability to buff up our siege engines as well. Again, we're going to show you that unit later too. However, Thea is probably a lot better. The trees that you can summon is a building that has Dryer in it. You also get a chance to have probably the third best flying unit in the game, which is a really good unit. It kind of throws rocks at the enemies. It has a decent health, decent attack, and you can mass build them. The Dryad, of course, come from those trees, and you can have an unlimited supply of them if, of course, you give it enough time. Thea is a really good option for extra units. In tier 4, Helios is an interesting option. You have Vortex and you can instantly summon your army anywhere on the map. It's really useful. I like to use it quite a lot. You don't get to teleport any villagers, unfortunately, or gatherers, unlike Shifting Sands, but it's very, very good. This Myth unit as well can be buffed up to do incredible damage because he attacks so fast. I believe he attacks with every single hand that he has. The Mirror Tower allows you to have extra towers down. It does a decent amount of damage. It has an okay amount of health. Really, with the Atlanteans, you do get a chance to turtle down, and Helios just kind of adds to that defensive capabilities. Alternatively, if you want a little bit of fun, you could go with the Heket. Now, the Tartan's Gate is a very interesting building that you can summon anywhere on the map. It spawns Hell Demons. It does attack your units as well. We also get another Myth unit here and the ability to buff up our Myth units quite considerably, so it is a decent option. Now, as the Atlanteans, you get access to citizens. They are your gatherers or your villagers, depending on what way you want to look at it. You only get 50 of them. One of them does count as 2. However, they do not need a drop-off point. They kind of carry with them a mule in which they instantly kind of put those resources straight in there. So they are essentially the fastest gatherers in the game. Not only that, but you can actually turn them into heroes too for a fee, and they will gather even more for you. It's also the citizens that do all of your building. So they'll be building all of your houses, all of your armories or your markets, for instance, but also your attacking units, so your barracks and your towers and walls, etc., like that too. I do find their building supplies are rather expensive, all of them really needing wood and gold, so be mindful of that. Having the ability to turn them into heroes is just so strong. Remember, you do have access to valor as well, so being able to turn all of your citizens into heroes can just mean that you're just getting a mad amount of resources by the end of the game. Another thing I quite like about them is that you do get manors, so you only have to build 8 of these instead of the 16, so they kind of count as double population. It means you can build them quicker. You have access to more of a population faster than everyone else. You also get an economic guild, in which this is where you do all of your upgrades for mining or for farms, you know, all of that kind of stuff. You do need to build this building, as you know, those kind of upgrades are quite important. Now, we did mention the bird earlier in the video. It really is the 3rd strongest flying unit in the game. I believe you can have more of these than the other 2 flying units as well. They're very, very good unit. They're quite costly, lots of wood, a little bit of gold, lots of faith, and 3 population. But my god, if you can have access to a flying unit, you just kind of have to. The Atlanteans are the true turtle build though. If you want to build, they do have the strongest walls in the game, and as we saw, more towers than anyone else too. When it comes to siege units, we do have access to a fire siphon, which is really, really strong. They do a mad amount of damage, to be honest with you. They look cool as hell. One of the coolest looking units in the game, if you ask me. It looks like a mini tank, so something that I definitely go down. Again, quite costly, lots of wood, a little bit of gold, but absolutely worthwhile. Just a shame they're so high on population. Now, the Dryads come from the trees. Pop down 1 tree, get access to 5 Dryads. They do not count towards population, meaning that if you give a game enough time, you can have an obscene amount of those Dryads in the game. And they've got a decent health, a decent attack, and in some games, I end up having a ridiculous amount of them. Now, the sky passages are really strong, actually. If you go down the vortex route, it is something that I would recommend, building 1 sky passage in every single city that you're kind of working with around the map. It means you've got a mobile army able to teleport whenever and wherever you want. Really, really simple to use. And I haven't really seen any downside to them at all. It's very unique with this build, obviously, but the Sky Passage is definitely something that I feel like I need to use a lot more than I currently do in my gameplay. So let me know down in the comments if you've managed to get decent use out of this. One thing I forgot to mention with the Dryads is that it actually only costs wood to build them. I think that is such a cheap resource. I don't know about you, but in all of my gameplays, I always have more wood than any other resource in a game. So if you do manage to get a ton of these out, you really are able to pump out a troop that is so cheap and useful in your game. Now, a spell that I never really used anywhere near enough was Chaos. Chaos is something you get access to pretty early on in the game, really. And it's just not something I ever really use enough. If you manage to target the right units, the right group of units, it can be okay. But basically, you get an area of effect. You target it, you use it, and all of those units kind of fight against each other. Ultimately, I don't really see that they do enough damage to anything to really warrant overuse of it. However, the gates, this gate that you kind of like, you know, open a rift to howl, I like to think of it. You get these howl dogs that kind of jump out and attack anyone and anywhere around it. Something interesting that I found out actually only within the last couple of playthroughs is that when you summon it, you've actually got a chance to destroy other buildings, which can be really good. So not only you know, putting this pit of howl in the world, but you're also damaging their cities and deleting buildings, that be infantry buildings, resource buildings, whatever you want. It has a pretty decent pool of health as well, and will remain until either the player or the AI actually destroys the gate itself. They have to destroy the gate or it will constantly pump out those hounds. And those hounds do attack you too, though, so make sure you think twice before popping it down. Alternatively, if you don't go with the gate, you're probably going to end up having access to Vortex. Now, Vortex may be the reason that you don't even bother with the Sky Passages, because at the end of the day, with Vortex, you're able to instantly teleport your troops anywhere on the map. All you need is access, you know, visual access. And of course, if you use those birds, you could use them to scout an area, and then boom, use Vortex, and you throw in every single troop that you have in the game in that one area. It's pretty decent, to be fair. It can be absolutely devastating. There's no real way to defend against it either, and ultimately is very, very bloody strong. Well, there we have it, guys. That is my guide. Let me know down in the comments if I've missed anything, if you like this god, or if you've got someone better in mind. Until next time, I've been a monk, we've been a Curious, and I'll see you in the next video real soon. Until then, take it easy and happy gaming.